still have caused over 1,500 power outages in Henry County and will continue to be our primary threats and the primary impacts that we continue to track. It's not impossible that we get another tornado warning, but that threat does appear to be waning over the course of the evening and not likely to be as big of a concern for the rest of the evening. Again, those weather impacts will continue to be felt through the early evening. We're going to have the latest and hopefully be able to give you the all clear on WTOL 11 News tonight, shortly after 11 o'clock p.m. And then overnight tonight, turning colder and calmer. There's nothing you need to worry about overnight. This is not a nocturnal overnight severe weather event. This is the type that should wrap up within the next 3 hours maximum, but likely the next 90 minutes to 2 hours as we watch that line of storms continue to move off towards the east. So still looking at those active warnings for Lucas and Monroe counties, Chris, and the rest of the line, not severe warned, but still packing a punch for sure.
Yeah, and I suspect the winds that are picking up in the Toledo Metro, John, they're probably getting your attention, reminding you we are actively in severe weather season and the tools that we have to keep you covered. John, anything in particular that you mentioned the rotation. I took a good look. I'm not seeing anything that concerns me at this point.
Yeah, thankfully that's diminished a little bit in nature. And as we've seen more of a characteristically linear structure to this line of storms. As a result, it's mostly the straight line winds that are taking over as the dominant storm threat. And you can really see that line now spanning from Detroit and Toledo all the way back towards Indianapolis. So there are millions of Americans that are being affected by this storm system. It's not just us here at home, but further to the south and southeast, there is ongoing severe weather currently in the Indianapolis metro, up towards the Detroit metro, throwing a curveball in travel plans and for folks flying out of the Detroit airport, and even up towards central Michigan. Some big impacts are currently being felt out of this system. We still do have that severe thunderstorm watch that goes in effect until 10 o'clock p.m. Very well could get expired just a little bit sooner.
I would think so, John, and I would hope so. With the forward speed of some of these storms, if they've been moving 50, 60, even in some cases up to about 70 miles per hour.
Yeah.
These aren't messing around. They're going to move through very quickly.
And, you know, when the storms were first rolling in from Indiana, I looked at the speed of these storms and I thought it was a typo at some point. But the National Weather Service highlighted 110 mile per hour wind speeds out of that. Of course, that's not the gusts that are being felt at the ground level, but that's the overall trajectory of these storms. Wow. They're definitely in a hurry.
Yeah, John, we're going to continue this coverage here on WTOL 11 Plus until things just subside a little bit, which I think we're getting very close to that. One thing I'm watching, and John pointed this out, this cluster of storms, it's now from about Haskins to Perrysburg over the river to Maumee, right up Route 20, Reynolds, over toward, let's say, Ottawa Hills, back up to Sylvania. It's considerably lighter. But this southern portion has actually been increasing in its strength a little bit. I'm still not seeing anything that concerns me. There's absolutely no rotation indicated, but there may be some gusty winds along the leading edge of that. So officially, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for Lucas County until 7:30. That does include much of Lucas County, including all the way through the Maumee Bay State Park area where we do have that severe thunderstorm warning. So what did I say about rotation? Let's actually take a look inside this particular cell. So we've got the tools to actually do that as we can investigate where we're seeing rotation or even better, where we're not seeing rotation, which kind of helps meteorologists really gauge that. If we're looking across parts of the Toledo Metro here, there's no indication within this view here that we're seeing anything that's rotating. So if you do get gusty winds, we're not expecting these to be anything that's going to be producing any rotation within this cell. Down toward Haskins, we're in northern Wood County. I'm seeing very similar conditions, uniform characteristics as far as our velocity signature. So our storm winds, there's the 475-75 split. Here's Route 24. We're out there toward Fallen Timbers, a shopping center, where we're not seeing any rotation, just some rain that is occurring right now. So that is good news in respect to that. But there has been a little bit of an increase or a pulse up in some of the storm activity, especially in and around Perrysburg, just north of 582. So here's 582. There's Dixie Highway. There's I-75 with the junction on the south end of town. Here's River Road out there toward Waterville. The heaviest of the rain and wind is now pushing east. And I suspect it's going to even be east of Haskins, right along 582, crossing I-75. Get ready to push toward 199 and out toward Route 20. This extends out there toward as far north as about 795, where we may have some gusty winds. Non-severe, at least indicated at this point, where our severe thunderstorm warning is located. That's going to be from the Toledo Metro. It does include Ottawa Hills, South Toledo, downtown Toledo, up into North Toledo, out toward Point Place, down toward Harborview. Heads up, it's just raining very lightly in Oregon, but that is going to be pushing east towards you, where some gusty winds may be crossing the Maumee River. I suspect our view has probably changed considerably, considering what we're seeing downtown Toledo. I know we're getting closer to sundown time, but it looks like a lot of the street lights, and you can even see some of the street light and headlights have come on just due to the fact that the skies have gotten considerably darker as some gusty winds have indeed come through the metro. John mentioned how large this storm system is. It is far-reaching, still have severe thunderstorm warnings. In fact, 2 counties, Monroe County and Lucas County, will continue to cover that here on WTOL 11+. Much worse, though, up on the northern extent of this. My goodness, there's severe thunderstorm warnings in effect right now from Toledo through Detroit all the way up towards Saginaw Bay. So that's over 100 miles of severe thunderstorm warnings that are occurring right now from the Ohio-Michigan state line all the way up into Saginaw Bay area. So this is the more robust or intense portion of this storm. Let's highlight just what we're looking at as well as we get a little bit closer into this. It does appear that boy, some of those strong storms could be in particular very strong up there just north of the Detroit metro area. John, I'll bring you in on this one as well. Highlighted this earlier, but there's a destructive tag on this one. That's outside of the Detroit metro, so not directly impacting our area, but that means winds of up to 80 miles per hour.
Wow.
That's where you get one of those EAS alerts, like an emergency alert on your device that would tell you you're in the path of a very strong storm.
Yeah, if you do have friends or family up there, a destructive severe thunderstorm can be just as devastating as a tornado,
right,
except the impacts are a little bit more far-reaching, and everyone in that warning is going to experience those winds. Now, we're not totally out of the woods yet here locally. I was looking over some of the latest data about the atmosphere, and there is still a good amount of instability left to the southeast of the Maumee River. In fact, this area has been relatively untapped over the course of the evening. In other words, there hasn't really been any thunderstorms to kind of level out or even out the atmosphere. So over towards Fremont, Tiffin, Bowling Green, Findlay, and Upper Sandusky, even though there's not any active warnings as of 7:18 p.m., the atmosphere still does have some of the ingredients that are concerning as far as the maintenance of this line of storms. So there's enough instability there. I don't think this storm system is simply going to cave in and collapse. It really is going to continue to bring some gusty winds, rain, lightning, and thunder in the vicinity of Fremont, Tiffin, BG, and Findlay. And even if there's not any active warnings, there's still going to be some strong storms, if not marginally severe. Of course, it's the Toledo Metro that's really getting the brunt of the storms right now, from central and eastern Lucas County down into northern Wood County. That is where we're starting to see some of the heaviest of the storm cell move on through. The city of Perrysburg up towards Maumee on the other side of the river. That bright red color, that is representative of the heaviest rain on radar. Essentially, radar is detecting a very high density of water droplets falling from the sky, and that is where we're seeing some of the heaviest rain. It's now moving off towards Oregon and Walbridge, so it is going to gradually be crossing on the east side of the river, and we're still continuing to keep an eye on some of the lingering impacts of this. We have gotten some damage reports from the Toledo Metro, some breaking news just coming into the newsroom, and of course Henry County still has over 1,500 individuals that are without power as a result of this system. We're watching some of those counties get trimmed from the severe thunderstorm watch. In fact, all of the northern Indiana counties starting to get trimmed from that watch, as well as Hillsdale and Williams counties no longer under the impacts of that severe thunderstorm watch. It does still include the Toledo Metro over towards Erie County and Sandusky. It includes Port Clinton down towards Seneca and Sandusky counties, as well as Wyandotte County, where there is still going to be the risk of severe weather later on this evening. Locally, we just have 2 warnings for Lucas County and the Metro, as well as Monroe County. But the southern side of this system still does, as I pointed out, still does have a good amount of instability in the atmosphere to capitalize on. So I do think that there is a favorable atmospheric setup to at least maintain the intensity of those storms, not necessarily going to weaken by any means. And we have seen a little bit of an uptick in some of the rainfall rates or the intensity. That's not to say there's any severe wind gusts just yet, but boy, there's going to be a lot of rain, lightning, and thunder. And that latest data still shows that line of storms moving off towards our lakeshore and northeastern Ohio counties by about 8 to 9 o'clock p.m. So we're at 7:21 right now, and by 9 p.m. you can expect the leading edge or the strongest winds to just be exiting Erie and Huron counties. So we've got about another 90 minutes to 2 hours of severe weather threat as this weather impact alert day continues and eventually winds down later on in the evening. And those active warnings include up towards Monroe County as well as Lucas County, and the heaviest of the rains are now starting to impact the easternmost suburbs of Toledo, and that includes downtown Toledo. I know, being a nicer, warmer day and a weekend as well, there's a lot of individuals out enjoying the weather, out and about, and we don't want you to get caught off guard by this system. You can get the latest weather updates on our free WTOL 11 weather app and streaming on WTOL 11 Plus. You can take us on the go and stay up to date because we're not out of the woods just yet. Some of those western counties are starting to see the effects fade away, such as Hillsdale and Williams counties, where there was a tornado warning earlier. That threat has now diminished, and we're watching predominantly straight line winds from Detroit and Toledo all the way down towards Indianapolis, and there's severe thunderstorm warnings in the Indy metro as well as the Detroit metro, and all in between. This line of severe thunderstorms continues to barrel on through. Again, the watch or the potential for severe thunderstorms extending until 10:30 p.m. and the heaviest of the rain and the heaviest of the thunder currently moving in northern Wood County and is now gradually pushing off towards the Maumee River. So downtown Toledo and some of those eastern suburbs like Rossford and Oregon are going to be next in the line of fire. If you live western Lucas County, say out towards Holland or Monclova Township, the strongest winds, those have now cleared off to your east and have moved on through. If you live up towards Sylvania, there were some strong and potentially damaging winds that moved through earlier, but the worst of the winds have now moved to the east of Sylvania and are now sliding off to the east of I-75 as well. There is some lightning with this, not necessarily the noisiest of storms, but with the winds and the heavy rain, this system still is continuing to pack a punch. And again, Monroe County, that warning's in effect for another 22 minutes, and that threat is a little bit higher with the strong winds that we're tracking in southern Michigan, Monroe and Wayne counties until 7:45 p.m. So those are our only two warnings, but Chris, not totally out of the woods south and east. I was looking at some of the latest data on the meso-analysis, or in other words, looking at the atmosphere, and there's still a good amount of instability to capitalize on, and we're still before sunset with some of these longer days too.
May not be entirely done. Exactly right, John. Appreciate that update, that analysis, and I think you're exactly right with that one. So we're going to give you a few views across the area as well, just exactly what we're tracking right now. John had mentioned he was highlighting the Toledo Metro. That is just off there, but here's what's going on over downtown Toledo. That is the heavy rain that is occurring, and the bottom screen there, that's going to be a couple of our alerts that happen. I'm going to get right into the thick of things of what's happening. Right here, first and foremost, of what you need to know, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for the Toledo Metro as this storm moving to the north and east at 45 miles per hour gave you some really heavy rain and some wind down toward Perrysburg. This is going to continue its track to the north and east. I actually think the heaviest portion of that storm is in northern Wood County, just north of 795 out there toward Northwood, Walbridge, now working into eastern Lucas County. I'm going to say the risk of wind speeds of about 50 to 60 miles per hour, probably the max we're going to get out of this particular part of the cell. We can actually look down toward Perrysburg, had a few views very momentarily. This was down toward Route 25, Dixie Highway, and 475, Eccles Junction right there. That is right by Costco, where some really heavy rain was occurring, indicating some really low visibility due to the amount of heavy rain. Had some heavy rain as well. I-75 crossing the Maumee River, where that rain was intense at one point through just over the past 10 to 15 minutes. The storm is going to continue to track to the east. Monroe County, as John mentioned, that is still one county that is under a severe thunderstorm warning. That remains under a severe thunderstorm warning, and let's highlight exactly what that risk is up there in Monroe County. It's still considered a considerable risk, winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour that may be headed through Monroe County. Let's get a little closer to that because this is in effect until 7:45 up there in Monroe County. That is how long that warning is going to stand for. I do suspect, though, that's going to be racing off of Lake Erie because this northern portion of the cell is moving to the east at about 50 to 60 miles per hour. It's got a little bit more of a faster forward motion. Does have that considerable risk of wind damage. I suspect we would already have seen the highest winds in Monroe to Luna Pier and extending up there toward the Detroit Metro Airport just off 275. We'll keep close eyes on that because it is still a severe thunderstorm warning, although that's going to be allowed to expire by the time we hit 7:45, if not sooner. Here in the Toledo Metro, still have that severe thunderstorm warning, and that is in effect until 7:30. Some fresh lightning strikes that have just popped in there. Heaviest portion of the storm, we can kind of hear the raindrops just pounding our rooftops here over downtown Toledo, indicating that we've got that heavy rain that's occurring right now, and this is what it looks like. Just above us, some of the torrential rain and perhaps the gusty winds that are now pushing over toward across the Maumee River over toward East Toledo is where we're going to have the highest wind threat with that part of the storm. Back over to radar here. We're going to indicate the severe thunderstorm warning, and again, it does include the Toledo Metro. Another few more minutes till 7:30, where the heaviest portion of this storm here is. Let's bring radar to the latest moment. We can actually isolate this storm a little bit better on Doppler radar and indicate where we've got the heaviest of the storms. It is continuing to move to the east, not showing us any rotation, at least as far as radar would be seen on that, but we are looking at some heavy rain that is occurring. Heaviest of that rain is along I-280, so here is split with 75 up there toward the Jeep plant. Gets very heavy with the rain and wind right down I-280 over toward Walbridge and extending down to about 795, getting a little bit closer to Lake Township. So this has already moved through East Toledo, now up toward Harbor View, Oregon. That's headed out now toward Maumee Bay State Park, where we've got some gusty winds that are going to be picking up, and then eventually through eastern Lucas County, where the gusty winds may reach 55 to 60 miles per hour as we get the latest scan on radar. There's Maumee Bay State Park right at the end of my fingertip. Here's Route 2, and there's I-280. So with the heaviest rain and gusty winds now moving east of the Toledo Metro and into eastern Lucas County. This still is going to be a threat. John mentioned it as well. South of Toledo, the atmosphere is a little bit more relatively undisturbed or untapped, and we may be seeing some storms that may pulse up. First, notice that right there in northern Wood County, and that's the cell that has now moved up toward Walbridge. But anywhere now from about Bowling Green south toward Findlay back toward Ottawa, these are sub-severe, so they're not producing severe weather at the present time. But maybe a situation where if they continue to intensify, we could get some winds that may end up gusting up to about 50 to 55 miles per hour. So keep close eyes on that one. At this point, they don't have any active alerts with them, but could be producing some winds that could exceed 40 to 50, even up to 55 miles per hour. No indications we're getting any rotation, but if you're in Bowling Green, latest frame on this, that heavy rain is just west of you in Bowling Green, down toward Ottawa, where we've got some pretty good downpours that are occurring. So let's zoom in. Bowling Green, Wood County area. Heaviest of the rain is west of I-75, right along Route 6. So this includes over toward Weston, down toward Custer. We've got some really heavy rain right along 281, extends across 235, and north up to the Maumee River toward Haskins, right along 582, and this is going to be crossing through Bowling Green. If you're in Bowling Green, non-severe storm, but the skies are going to open up with a really good downpour that's going to get you in Bowling Green, and the heavier rain that extends now down toward Deschler, Leipzig into Ottawa, down toward Columbus Grove. This is going to be moving across Putnam County, right along 224. And eventually that's going to be pushing into Hancock County, heads up toward Findlay. Again, non-severe, but this could be something that does pulse up, and we'll have close eyes on that. We would suspect at that point it would likely be a severe thunderstorm warning. We're going to take you right up through the bottom of the hour here, 7:30, and what you're likely going to see, we're going to suspect that at the very least this severe thunderstorm warning is going to be trimmed back, or potentially it's going to be allowed to expire. The only area I'd be concerned about is the extreme eastern tip of Lucas County. We could see some extension to that, but you're going to be in the clear. If you're Sylvania, you're going to be in the clear. That severe thunderstorm warning is going to drop off down toward Springfield Township, back over toward Holland, even Maumee, Perrysburg. The threat of any severe weather is going to be past you as that storm is now moving to the east and continues to move to the east. 7:29 is the time, and there we go as we hit 7:30. As we suspected, we were going to get an update on that. That has been allowed to expire. I'm going to do a quick check up there toward Monroe County, and that too has been allowed to expire. That was in effect till 7:45. That has cleared out as well. So how it stands right now, we're going to do kind of a quick recap. We're live here on WTOL 11 Plus. I'm going to bring meteorologist John Birchfield back in just a moment and see if he's got any final details or anything to recap about what these storms have been doing and what they've been producing. But as it stands right now, Maybe a moment to catch your breath. We've seen all alerts as far as severe weather expire, but storms that are still going to be developing east of I-75 will catch our watchful eye. As John had mentioned too, this atmosphere is relatively untapped, which means it hasn't been mixed over by storms yet, so there's still some storm energy that exists east of I-75, where this line of storms could be producing some gusty winds as they march off to the east. John, what do you have? Any recap, anything to recap before we wrap this up here on WTOL 11 Plus?
Yeah, Chris, we're going to continue to keep an eye on storm reports that come in this evening, and be sure to turn on WTOL 11 News tonight, likely to be on just after 11:30 p.m. this evening, keeping an eye on those storm reports. There's also a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, so even if there's not severe warnings, there is going to be some very, very torrential rain. I'm sure you felt it today, something we haven't felt a whole lot of this season, and that is the humidity. There's a lot of moisture to wring out of the atmosphere, and we are seeing some soaking rain from Ottawa up towards BG. There has been a little bit of an uptick in the lightning amounts in Putnam County, and that doesn't necessarily mean the winds are becoming severe, but what it does mean is that storm is really packing a punch with some heavy torrential rain. There's also been a good amount of lightning reported now over towards East Toledo and Oregon and into Wood County as well. So the strong winds, not quite as big of a threat. You'll notice the leading edge of this isn't quite as linear and defined as it was earlier. It has a bit more of a rugged appearance to it, and that shows you that the winds ahead of that line are likely diminishing slightly, but still some very heavy rain. No active severe warnings now for Northwest Ohio and the Toledo Metro, with those warnings that have been allowed to expire. Now we're at 7:32 and those warnings expiring. The heaviest of the rain, the heaviest of the storm does appear to be moving now to the east of the Maumee River and in northern and central Wood counties between BG and North Baltimore. Boy, it is pouring down rain, as we heard on a rooftop here in downtown Toledo at the WTOL 11 studios. Moving into Ottawa County, there's also going to be some heavy torrential rain that rolls on through, and I do want to highlight the southern component of this system between Ottawa and Bluffton up towards Hamler and North Baltimore. The rain has picked up some steam, and there is a good amount of lightning, so outdoor plans this evening are going to be dicey, and you can see the lightning, you can see the radar from the palm of your hands if you grab that free WTOL 11 weather app. Across the metro between Oregon, Rossford and Walbridge and Northwood, some of those eastern suburbs are getting absolutely hammered by some heavy torrential rain. Even though there's no severe weather, that rain is really still coming on down. We're going to keep a close eye on potential expirations of this thunderstorm watch. As of now, it continues until 10 p.m. The time is 7:33. Frankly, I do expect that to be expired before 10 o'clock, and we'll be sure to give you the all clear on WTOL 11 Plus on the app, and also tonight on air on WTOL 11 News. The bigger picture of this line shows you that now the worst element of it is up towards Detroit. Also, the Indianapolis metro, they had a little more instability to work with today. There was more moisture, more heat, more humidity, generally a more favorable atmosphere. So severe weather still ongoing there. There is still some instability, some ingredients that we could see some stronger storms south and east of the metro, but overall, the latest data showing this line clearing out. Frankly, I think we're going to be in the clear closer to 9 o'clock p.m., and we'll be sure to send you that all clear as the watch still does continue. By about 9 to 10 o'clock p.m., as you're winding down on the weekend, getting ready to start off a new work week, you can rest easy tonight, knowing that there is nothing you need to worry about tonight. The only thing you'll need to worry about is where did I put my winter coat, because it's going to get chilly over the next few days, and in fact, we're going to be forecasting a significant cool down with temperatures in the 40s to start off the month of April. Biggest storm threat remains those strong gusty winds. At this point, the tornado threat is fairly close to zero, not totally impossible, but it's the heavy rain and the strong straight line winds that continue to be the biggest impacts. And I'm going to have the latest breakdown of not only those storm reports, but also the hour by hour timeline coming up tonight on WTOL 11 News. And we'll be sure to share that with you as well. But not totally out of the woods yet. Still some heavy rain, still some lightning or thunder. They may put a damper on those evening plans. But overall, it does not look like there's been any new warnings that have been issued based on the latest radar scan. We still do have the watch that is in effect until 10:30 p.m. We still do have lots of rain, lightning, and thunder between Oregon, Clay Center, and Walbridge. That is now just pouring, and lots of thunder and lightning to go along with it. Also seeing quite a bit of lightning over in the vicinity of Hamler, North Baltimore, and Bowling Green, but it does appear that the severe risk is winding down for the night. So we're going to continue to update you on air and on WTOL 11 Plus as needed. And of course, tonight, I know it'll be a little bit late after 11:30, but we'll have the latest on air, and I'll be sure to send you that all clear as well well on our free WTOL 11 weather app. We're going to wrap up our coverage on WTOL 11 Plus for now, but we're going to continue to keep you updated if there are any additional warnings that are issued. And be sure to follow Chief Meteorologist Chris Vickers and myself on social media for the latest updates as we continue to watch this and also the beginnings of our severe weather season 2025.